morning, everyone. This is Dawn from DawnRichardson.com here to share a passage that I've been asked to share with you at this time. It is April 2nd, 2017. And then to have a little bit of heart-to-heart conversation with both the Divine Feminine and Divine Masculine. Just a really brief video with some comments. So sorry about the wind out here, but I really wanted to be by the water and in the wind and in the elements to really emphasize the point that, and I'm sure you're feeling it too, that there are fresh winds blowing, and this is April, is all new energy, really since the spring equinox. But in April, I think that many of us can feel in our lives, in all areas of our lives, a new opportunity, and in a sense we're being asked to step it up a bit and to show up more fully, more authentically, to really step into the high calling to which we are called. And that can be both exciting and daunting. And so just honor that wherever you are along your path. So the passage I was asked to share, so it was interesting. So I'm back from Ireland, clearly. I'm back in the States. I'm in North Georgia. Sorry for the wind. So here I am by the lake, by the waters. I call these the still waters. And this is, I call it my Soul Streams Day Retreat Center. I do meet clients here for a full day. Experiences your essential day, and the information is available on my website about that. But I'm really happy to be back after being led to in Ireland to all sorts of places. Sometimes I know what that purpose is, and sometimes I'm less sure about what specifically is happening, but I know it has to do with reconnecting to a trail of light, essentially, that has been left through time, and perhaps opening up new possibilities for a whole new way forward together. And so here I'm back in my home, and the passage that I was asked to share was Isaiah 62, and this first came to me a few weeks ago in Ireland on a walk, and it was share this. You're going to share this very soon, and I didn't look it up because I said no, you mean Isaiah 61 is kind of, I'm sure, what they meant, because Isaiah 61 is one of my favorite Old Testament passages. It's traditionally called the Year of the Lord's Favor, and I made a video about that back in 2011 and then again in 2013, and I will add one of those videos to the end of this after I read Isaiah 62. And when I said, oh, you must mean Isaiah 61, and I was excited about doing this video, the angels were like, no, Isaiah 62. And I was like, trying to remember, what's that, and so I read it, and I was like, okay, all right, I'll share that. And then I had some computer issues toward the tail end of my visit to Ireland, so I had to wait till today, which it turns out is quite perfect. So let me read it, and then I'll make a few comments about the meaning, perhaps, of this. So Isaiah 62. For Zion's sake, I will not keep silent. For Jerusalem's sake, I will not remain quiet, till her vindication shines out like the dawn, her salvation like a blazing torch. The nations will see your vindication, and all kings your glory. You will be called by a new name that the mouth of the Lord will bestow. You will be a crown of splendor in the Lord's hand, a royal diadem in the hand of your God. No longer will they call you deserted, or name your land desolate, but you will be called Hephzibah, and your land Beulah. For the Lord will take delight in you, and your land will be married. As a young man marries a young woman, so will your builder marry you. As a bridegroom rejoices over his bride, so will your God rejoice over you. I have posted watchmen on your walls, Jerusalem. They will never be silent day or night. You who call on the Lord, give yourselves no rest, and give him no rest till he establishes Jerusalem and makes her praise of the earth. The Lord has sworn by his right hand and by his mighty arm, never again will I give your grain as food for your enemies, and never again will foreigners drink the new wine for which you have toiled. But those who harvest it will eat it and praise the Lord, and those who gather the grapes will drink it in the courts of my sanctuary. Pass through the gates. Prepare the way for the people. Build up the highway. Remove the stones. Raise a banner for the nations. The Lord has made proclamation to the ends of the earth. Say to daughter Zion, see, your Savior comes. See, his reward is with him, and his recompense accompanies him. They will be called the holy people, the redeemed of the Lord, and you will be called sought after, the city no longer deserted. So I just want to let that sink in. I would invite you to listen to it again or read it. It is Isaiah chapter 62, chapter 62. And maybe even read chapter 61 and 62. It's very beautiful. This has really grown on me, and it feels very intentional. And now, it's interesting because I feel it very deeply within me, and I don't know that I have words to articulate what it is I'm feeling. So I'm going to trust that this reaches those of you it's meant to reach without much commentary from me. But I do want to say that the names up in verse 4, Hephzibah, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, means my delight is in her. And Beulah means married. So let me read that again. It was chapter 62 of Isaiah, verse 4. No longer will they call you deserted or name your land desolate, but you will be called Hephzibah, and your land Beulah. You will be called Hephzibah, meaning my delight is in her, and your land Beulah, meaning married. So it's a very beautiful passage, and it's about God redeeming his people, and that they would be completely redeemed, and no longer would Jerusalem be a city deserted. So this speaks on multiple levels to me. I think I'm going to just leave it at that, but I trust that maybe sparks some. I think this is a time to really remain faithful and to remain in your life. Okay, so I'm not talking about any specific outcome here, although this is inclusive of those of you who are in divine unions, sacred partnerships, who perhaps are not at that place of total fulfillment or nowhere close to that place. Perhaps you are still feeling desolate, and perhaps you feel your land has been deserted. So I want to say a little bit more about that at the end of this video. Right now I want to go ahead and share with you chapter 61 of Isaiah, and a video I made approximately little more than 3 years ago. And for me, that feels very significant because while it was just one in a series of videos I made, I truly believe that, that I see the sweep of how this is unfolded, and what the last 3 years have been about for so many of us. Whether you, like me, have been on this journey for decades, or whether you've been, awakening in the last, 6 months or a year. I think that there is something that is here for each of us right now in the beginning of April. My own experience in France last year with some things that occurred, it became very obvious to me that the groundwork had been laid, and that this is a significant time. I do want to clarify that is, it's not to say that there will be a mass event and every single person who is intended to be in sacred partnership will magically appear with their partner. I do believe that could happen, and I have been shown various waves, in my own experience, of where there are, large numbers of people who, where essentially God and the angels remove what has been, what we have, what we individually or collectively have been keeping propped up in place. And so this is a time of trust and hope and faith. Faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. So, above all else, whatever you are feeling about your particular union, remain in a place of faith, hope, and love about you and your life and all that God intends for you. So, I will share the passage from Isaiah 61 now here in the video, and then I'll move on to with some personal messages. Hey everybody, it's Dawn Richardson here in the Soul Streams Virtual Retreat Center for Walking in the Way. And today I was reading from one of my favorite passages from the book of Isaiah, chapter 61 in the Old Testament of the Bible. And this is commonly referred to as the year of the Lord's favor. And this is a passage that's had a lot of meaning for me throughout my life, and is frequently quoted in the Christian tradition and also the Jewish tradition. And it's a passage for me that has a lot of personal meaning as well. I think that it was probably early 2010 when I really began to sense that we were moving into, a time of real transformation for humanity. And so this passage really speaks to me about this transformation that we are in the midst of, and how we are each called to proclaim the Lord's favor, to step up and to be the presence and the Spirit of God that's planted within us. So I'll just read it and share it with you today, and I hope you find it meaningful. The year of the Lord's favor. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach the good news. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, and to provide those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, in a planting of the Lord, for the display of his splendor. They will rebuild the ancient ruins and restore the places long devastated. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations. Aliens will shepherd your flocks, foreigners will work your fields and vineyards, and you will be called priests of the Lord. You will be named ministers of our God. You will feed on the wealth of nations, and in their riches you will boast. Instead of shame, my people will receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace, they will rejoice in their inheritance. And so they will inherit a double portion of their land, and everlasting joy will be theirs. For I, the Lord, love justice. I hate robbery and iniquity. In my faithfulness I will reward them and make an everlasting covenant with them. Their descendants will be known among the nations, and their offspring among the peoples. All who see them will acknowledge that they are a people the Lord has blessed. I delight greatly in the Lord. My soul rejoices in my God, for he hath clothed me with garments of salvation, and arrayed me in a robe of righteousness. As a bridegroom adorns his head like a priest, and as a bride adorns herself with jewels. For as the soil makes the sprout come up, and a garden causes seeds to grow, so the sovereign Lord will make righteousness and praise spring up before all nations. So this passage really speaks to me of this time of great change that we are in. And in particular, what I believe it's calling us to is to be that presence of God, that spirit of righteousness, that presence, who is able to see ourselves as the embodiment of the Spirit of the Lord here among the nations, and to really step up and be prepared to receive the great wealth that is waiting for us. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. The year of the Lord's favor. What about if today, this year, this day, this month, wherever you are, in whatever part of the world you are in right now, What if you proclaimed it, the day of the Lord's favor, the year of the Lord's favor? What if you lived into that? What if you opened your heart to receive all that is in store for you, to really understand who you are, and to allow that to come forth? What if we really acknowledged that, like the soil makes the sprout to come up and the garden causes the seed to grow, what if we started to believe that the sovereign Lord will make righteousness and praise spring up before all nations? And my last thought that I will leave you with today is, and I'm really pondering all of this too, as you know, I like to share it as I am in the middle of it. And so what if today I really started to embrace, and you started to embrace, the possibility that we are the ones that are here to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, and that it begins with a willingness to receive that for ourselves. Thanks so much. This has been Dawn Richardson in the Soul Streams Virtual Retreat Center for Walking in the Way.